Stop telling people what you're about to say before you say. I could have started this by saying, over the next 3 minutes, I'm going to tell you how to speak better. I'm going to start by giving you some principles of what not to say, and then I'll follow with some examples. How boring was that? Cut all that out and just dive right into the principles.
Is talk to strangers like you've known them for the last 10 years. When you do this, there's a barrier that breaks down between you and the stranger, right? Like when you meet a new person, usually there's this front and it's like, we don't really know each other. It's an instant release of whatever guard they have up, right? And it's not even like people consciously do this. It's just we all have that like, that face we show to the external world all the time.
Compliment people. So this works a lot better with girls for me than guys. Also can come off as flirty. So if you're not trying to be flirty with a guy, I wouldn't suggest complimenting him. But if you are talking to another girl, compliment her. If your shirt is so cute, I love your jewelry. What nail color is that? Anything like that will get you so far with girls. And the trick is to keep any of these things going. So if you know anything literally at all about a person, if you know if they play a sport or what their degree is, that's like a really good question if you're in university, like, oh, what are you doing in school? I always ask people about school, and then you can segue it into other things. So like, oh, what's your degree? Oh, what do you plan on doing with that?
Don't be a conversational narcissist. It's a term coined by sociologist Charles Derber that refers to people who consistently turn conversations back to themselves rather than just listening. Here are a couple of examples, followed by a better way. I had a really rough day at work.
I know what you mean. My day was terrible too. Let me tell you all about it.
I'm sorry to hear that. What happened that made it so difficult?
If you ask someone a question, do not follow up with either your thoughts immediately. Give that person room to answer. It's about slowing down when you speak. You don't want to trip over your words, and you don't want to, breathe too fast or lose your breath. And that way you can also think about what you're about to say better.
A lot of people think talking more quickly actually makes them sound more confident, but it does the opposite. Talking too quickly actually leads to backspace talking and using those filler words like Stop using filler words.
And he noted it's okay to, pause for a second instead of saying
So what are your hobbies? I like playing volleyball and I play ping pong. Instead, just take a pause. I promise you're the only one who thinks that pause sounds long. It sounds normal to everyone else. So what are your hobbies? I like playing volleyball and I also like playing ping pong. That pause was the same length as that but it sounded a lot better, didn't it? Next, stop backspace talking. People talk and correct themselves literally like you would press a backspace key in a Word document as you're typing a sentence. I was driving through California. Actually, it was Northern California. None of those tiny details matter. You are literally putting people to sleep. If it's not a key element to the story, you don't need to correct it.
I'm going to need you to stop starting your sentences with so many qualifiers of, oh, I'm not sure, I think, I don't know if this is a dumb question. What you don't realize you're doing psychologically is that you are reaching the conclusion for the listener before you open your mouth. If you don't believe what you have to say is of importance, there is no way that the listener psychologically is going to think what you have to say is important.
Stop apologizing before you speak. Do you know how many conferences I've been to where they start by saying, I know it's 9 a.m. and we're all still waking up, but stay with me the best you can. You are literally reminding people to zone out before you even start talking. You are telling them that you know they don't want to be there.
Only respond to the words that passive-aggressive people say.
And not the tone at all.
So if someone says, I'm fine, it's whatever. Okay, they're fine. It's whatever.
Responding to their shitty energy only fuels this behavior. So put the fire out. Take everything as a compliment.
How do you guys handle backhanded compliments? Like, I was with a couple.
Ask a clarifying question. These are 4 perfect responses. I don't get it. What do you mean? Basically ask them to repeat themselves as many times as you need and really force them to marinate in their own filth. Or just ask, was that a backhanded compliment? Be direct. You can also ask them, why do you feel comfortable saying that to me? Or did you mean to say that out loud?
The biggest power play for answering uncomfortable or even uncalled for questions, whether it's a coworker calling you out on Zoom or a peer who's asking you inappropriate questions, here are 5 ways that I've responded in the past. I want to think about that a little bit more before I get back to you. Yeah, I don't really have a strong opinion on that. It's not my story to tell, but I would ask directly. I don't see how the answer to that question benefits anyone. I'm not really sure how I'm supposed to respond to that. How would you respond?
Here's what to say when you're not interested in gossiping. I don't really know much about that person, so I can't say much. I mean, if it works for them, who are we to judge, right? Let's change the subject. Listen to what happened to me this week. Sometimes no response is a response.
You never want to yell at the person that you're having an argument with. He never raised his voice. He never called me out of my name. Instead, he would constantly ask calm questions to get his point across. This does take really good critical thinking skills, by the way. Of course, this might set off people if they have an ego that basically gets called out, but then you know what type of person they are.
And when in doubt, just stop talking. Listen more and talk less. People have gotten into way more trouble for saying too much than saying too little.